right, we're
Hey,
live.
how about that?
Awesome. We just got the number live, Evan.
We're live.
Well, hi,
We are.
everybody. You're here at a live recording of Keepin It 800, Local 800's podcast. Joining us today is Evan Rohde, the chair of the AD Council, production designer for commercials and other extraordinaire. Somebody I consider a friend. And joining us at our awesome 2024 watch party here for the DNC and our election kickoff season. So, how you doing, Evan?
I'm doing really well. I'm really proud to be here at the Guild in general, and in the capacity that I'm here, and just charged up and ready for what's ahead of us. As our first kind of intro this afternoon, talking about how different this is, just a few weeks past where we were a bit ago, and the excitement is palpable. And I think it was you that was saying, this concept of, leaning into something as opposed to sort of aggressing something else. And it's just such a different energy, and it's so wonderful to be here around that. Yeah.
No, I remember it was District 2, it was a few weeks ago. We went out to dinner, and we were kind of talking about, what's the plan here? But we still had to finish up negotiations. And we kind of talked about what's going to happen on the political front at the local. And I said, we're going to hit the ground running, as soon as we're done with negotiations. But the whole thing changed.
Yeah.
I had to change kind of our idea of what's going on here with, again, new candidate, new energy, new everything. But I think the work's still the same, right?
Yeah.
And so. I know you're highly involved because we talk about it all the time. What would you say to a member watching, just somebody about being involved and sort of why it's important being involved in the politics side of your union?
Yeah, I'll back all the way up. So I was raised in a super political family. My dad was the president of ACLU when I was growing up, ACLU of Southern California, and has been kind of a lifelong freedom fighter in this world. I was regarding to a friend of mine the other day, yikes, balloons are popping already.
Balloons are popping.
I was regarding to a friend the other day how I marched at 8 years old in the Equal Rights Amendment marches in LA, and and have just always been really present and political. And I think across the years, just vote. No matter what it is, just get out and vote. We have this beautiful gift that we've been given by our forefathers to have access to a vote, to shape our government, to have open conversation, to not be fearful or limited by the views and opinions that we can have. And the more that we get out there and talk about it, the better. I still feel that way. I think this year is an interesting one because just get out and vote could mean vote for somebody that I more deeply than ever have really not supported, but I would still say get out and vote. I still think it's important for us to be engaged politically and and part of this process that then pivots to our responsibility as union members in America that are things are shifting, and there's a political climate of kind of, I don't know if it's shame, but kind of villainizing unions in a way that is just unreasonable and inaccurate. And it's just bad partisan politics of, I feel like the moneymakers trying to vie their way into, limit access to a fair and safe work environment. And so that just sort of redoubles. And as we were just saying a minute ago before we went on air, it's hard to believe that Joe Biden was the first president to ever walk a picket line. That as much as labor's been a topic and all these things, that just hasn't ever happened. And that he kind of risked some things doing so. It seems so counterintuitive to me. We are a nation built of the middle class and of us workers, and how have we been so undermined as to not build up from the bottom and the middle, and been sort of convinced that there's some nefarious thing in organizing and caring for our brothers, sisters, and kin.
Sure, I think it kind of speaks to the shift in the focus on the electorate, probably in the early '80s, where it shifted from a worker-based focus to being more shareholder focus, saying, look, if we invest in companies, and that'll trickle down to vote, and it's never really it just promotes more greed basically. And I think you're really seeing in the last decade, in response to all these forces you're talking about, a real correction to say, no, this needs to be a more worker-based representation. That is where we have our strength as a country, is the middle class. And labor is is the keystone to having a strong middle class. And so I think I said Joe Biden being on a picket line is that would sold it for me. Now with Kamala Harris, I think her support in California, I've gone to I don't know how many labor conferences when she was our senator, our attorney general, speaking at those conferences, fully supporting labor, and I think she'll continue to do that as president. I think she understands, coming from the middle class, how important it is. So I think we try to talk about for us, why it's important for on the labor side of things. I think, and being in a labor union, how beyond just voting, what do you think? How do you think folks can get involved? What would you suggest?
I mean, I think something that this campaign has been so great about is about, and I heard this earlier in one of the lead-up speeches. Every single action matters. And so whether that's a large contribution or a small contribution, whether that's one phone call or 100 phone calls, whether it's sitting down in a group like this to have a discussion and be with our colleagues, each little action adds up and is exponential. There's like a kinetic energy in each action that then sort of redoubles in its own way. And I think the more we can proudly show our support for the system, for unions, for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, the more contagious it gets, and it sort of snowballs at some point. And so, I think a lot of people resist volunteering because they're like, well, I can't pick up the phone, and I'm going to be nervous, and it's not where I belong. And I think people are mistaken in understanding that within a campaign, just like within the film industry, there are thousands of jobs. And if your skill is speaking, then please volunteer in that capacity. If your skill is organizing or doing spreadsheets or making burgers, each thing matters and kind of drives us to the end goal. I mean, it's it all sort of falls into the industry model, even a military model, or all those things where there's an organism here that it requires.
Absolutely.
And so every little action really does matter. And I think the kind of engagement and positivity, like I said a second ago, is contagious. It really is. It gives people permission to then give what they're capable of giving.
I think we were talking, just even what's going on behind us here. I think we were kind of talking about the differences between the RNC and the DNC, and I think the stark contrast that sort of that's there just in the presentation alone of we obviously art directors and artists, we kind of will even look, the presentation matters to us. And you just kind of see this is I think DNC, the messaging, the speakers, but even just how they're presenting is just more relatable to workers. I would say, to folks. In the words of Coach Walz, this is weird. It's a little weird. But I think labor. We're obviously, as an organization, a single issue. It's like we're a labor organization, so labor is important. That's why we endorse Kamala. That's why we're doing this. But we're also an organization of many different folks, and so we have to be understanding. That not everybody's going to agree with us. But we have to sort of have that message. I think that you're saying is there's something for everybody. And in this local, there's something for everybody to do. All you gotta do is reach out, Andrew at adg.org, or contact Evan or somebody, and we can get you plugged in. You don't have to go, if you're not comfortable going knocking on a stranger's door, and not everybody is. We got postcards. You can sit in this room and write postcards to just get out the vote. I mean, I want to.
Which I actually heard postcard writing and the recipients of those postcards. There's some great exponential access that offers. There's a personal thing. I mean, it's it's a drastic difference from a robocall between that and getting some
who gets
personal
handwritten notes anymore,
nobody
right?
Ever. I mean,
We're in this age of like getting a
Yeah.
handwritten letter is
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
spooky. You're
Yeah.
right, but it has that connection, that visceral connection. It's great.
One thing we failed to sort of mention a second ago is, Tim Walz is a union member as well, or was, as a teacher, and I think that's really
we were just saying first union member on top of the ticket since Reagan, and Reagan was for president of SAG. But I think it's important to see that representation up there and see it on they get it and really understand, like you're saying, the middle class is what built this country. Being both of these candidates coming from the middle class, it's aspirational for folks. I think they can say if they can do it, then I can do it. And that's what this country's built on. It's built on that.
Absolutely.
That hope.
It is. In so many ways. Yeah.
I mean, another way to get involved, because I have to do it as a political coordinator, is IATSEPAC.net, and that's even right there. And that's even simpler way to. I mean, if you're not comfortable doing any of that, you can go on IATSEPAC.net and donate $5. And that, again, you're talking about ways to be involved. Like, I know folks have opinions about PACs. But at the end of the day, that's how our system is, and we have to work within the system, like you said. And that's our voice for us in the IATSE, our political voice. And that actually gives money to candidates, not just top a ticket, down ballot in competitive races, to ensure that we have a voice with those candidates and have a voice in Washington when they get elected. And so, that's the simplest thing I think you could do, is just go on and donate $5.
Yeah, it is. And I've actually heard something interesting about PACs in general, is that you look at, donating to certain entities or even campaigns in general. What a PAC offers you is it's got like going to a specialty store, where within those shelves you're going to be able to do certain things within a given topic, as opposed to just sort of a much broader swath of offerings. You really know that the kind of the heart and the goal of the PAC is guided in a certain direction, and so you can have confidence that that's where those dollars are going.
I have a question for you guys. So based on all the negotiations and everything we've done, how important is to you, this next phase of election? I mean, you're obviously really involved, but and this might be a leading question, but it's why, once we've locked our contract, right? These are the rules now. But maybe you can explain, because I think people try to hear me say, why is this important, on the election front?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of ways to kind of enter that question. But I think the importance of unionism, as I see it, and this is really kind of a personal sense for me, as I see this as it's a family, it's a party, it's a group of common-minded people, and in our union, it is kind of a, pardon my terminology, but kind of a a film nerd focused. We have kind of our direction that exists in all different facets of unionism. And I think as we look to elevate those that support unions, we not only are supporting the unions that exist today, but we're opening doors for places where unions can exist in the future and places where they don't and should. We've all heard in the news about Starbucks organizing and Amazon attempting to organize and all of the bad practices that would happen around that. And the more people believe that this is possible and that their leaders proudly back it, that it isn't this sort of thing that you have to dance around, well, maybe I shouldn't trust it, or maybe I should believe the hype around, the risks of organizing. When a group like this has a chance to prove itself, it succeeds. And it succeeds for the people, not for the organization. I think that's really the key, is that each of us reap the benefits of this collective bargaining in a way that is real, that affects my bottom line, that affects, I had tweaked my back last weekend. I've spent 4 days now in the last week at acupuncture and chiropractic. That is a product of the supports that this union has offered me in a very simple, functional way.
Sure.
That affects the quality of my life and my ability to work. I mean, that just the care for me as a physical human that this that this has offered me is not this sort of like selfish top-down kind of like, we'll insure you so you be a worker bee for us. It really feels the opposite. It feels like as long as I can flourish, we all can flourish, and we can create great content.
I mean, see, distill some of that as like to say, well, if unions didn't work, they wouldn't spend so much time trying to destroy them. Right.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. That's what I mean.
I mean,
and that's the contrast between the parties, right? It's like there's one party that actually supports workers, supports middle class, supports unions, and there's another party that supports the bosses, that supports that effort to destroy it, all in the name of freedom and independence or whatever.
I mean, our entire lives, and you mentioned it a minute ago, but the trickle-down concept is just never proven itself true. And so in a governmental structure where that trope has been pushed on us for decades, and somehow magically that was going to prove itself true, and we're going to show you how trickle-down works, and just as long as the money goes here, we're going to take care of it and it's going to work, and it just doesn't. And so similarly, once this kind of opportunity has in the 50s and 60s when unions were really building more strongly and more stout, like in the automotive industry and those sorts of things, it built our middle class.
Yeah.
It proved how people could have a 9-to-5, raise a family, put money in the bank, have health care for their families, and built what we're now having sort of chipped away from. It was that stout of a structure that we had built, and it's here for us. And without sort of lambasting the billionaires by name, there are a few people that are petrified of organizing.
Yeah.
And you're right to say that if it there's a reason why they are resistant to what we believe in.
It's a story I used to say. When I took this job, we all have our families. You had family upbringing, where you had somebody who supported progressive values in ACLU. My dad's military, very conservative. Hi, Dad. But when I took this job, he was like, well, why are you working for a union? And I said, well, kind of laid out, what's going on. And he's like, well, it doesn't seem to serve any purpose. If it didn't serve a purpose, I wouldn't have a job. They wouldn't need me.
Right.
Wouldn't need me to be there to.
That's so fascinating, right? like if those same men I was just speaking of, were just awesome and did great for their employees, then you're right. Unions are useless. Yeah, exactly. But that's not true at the top. So this needs to be true down below. I draw a salary
because there's a need here to protect folks in the workplace. And I think this whole conversation is kind of all about that, and I think it speaks to the importance of being involved in the political side of this. Whether whether you believe as strongly as we do on certain issues, but also getting involved in ways that you can, volunteering, and however that, and giving to the PAC, but really, just having an understanding that the union supports you as a member.
Sure. And
part of that support is supporting candidates that support the union. Yeah. It's that next line, because I think a lot of folks sort of, and I have to do this plug too. A lot of folks think, well, why you ask me to donate to the PAC? Why you ask me to do these things? And it's like, well, because again, if this weren't effective, there wouldn't be all these rules in place that say your dues money actually can't go to political campaigns.
Right.
That's why we have to ask you to do this, because it has to be somebody somewhere put that rule into place because they knew the effectiveness of unions and the money that they provide. Yeah. And so it has to be voluntary from members.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and to pivot back to the election specifically, I mean, imagine in a world. Thank you. In a world where our political leaders believe in union organizing, what does that world look like? That if we are supported as opposed to suppressed in terms of collective bargaining, healthcare, welfare, pension, work safety, all the things that we do, youth training, all the things that fall into this. That's a wonderful world,
yes.
and we are on the precipice of swinging that door open with this election. This is probably the most union-affected election that we've seen in a while. I mean, I feel like it's been pretty stagnant otherwise.
Well, I think it builds on the progress for workers that the Biden administration laid out.
Yeah.
Because if you look at their track record in all of the pro-worker legislation and all the things that they've been able to achieve legislatively to support workers, I think if we elect Kamala, it'll only grow.
Oh, absolutely.
And we'll see even more, somebody fighting for us even harder in the next 4 years,
and the
years.
permission structure that offers, because then other senators will speak up, other local leaders, it makes it okay.
Yeah.
There's no, sort of underlying shame in being a union supporting politician.
Especially when the head of your party is, is leading that way and holding those values.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're getting the wrap up. We got the wrap up sign.
Great. We've had enough.
But Evan, thank you, my
really,
friend,
my pleasure,
brother.
Absolutely. We'll see you again. Come back anytime.
And, reach out. Obviously we could geek out about this all day, but if you want to geek out, and you can get hold of Evan, you get hold of me, and we'll chat and. Follow us on our socials, and I got a bunch more shameless plugs I can't think of right now, but thanks, everybody. We'll be back in a few with another guest. Well, hi, Dina.
Hi.
So here we are, next guest. We're just rolling right into him. Dina Lipton, ADG
Hello.
President, production designer.
I don't know how that happened, but here I am.
Another good friend of mine, and happy to be here on this next phase of Keepin It 800. So keep the conversation going. I think I'll kind of ask some of the same questions I asked Evan.
Evan said everything.
Of
What
course
am
he
I
did,
gonna
but
talk
I
about?
think your insight would be helpful in providing a different perspective.
Okay.
But Evan did say everything. I can't say anything. But I would, for you. I mean, why do elections matter? Why I know it's a very big question, but I mean, for you, what and personal as you want to make it, but how why does this election matter to you?
Well, I think for obvious reasons, this election matters a great deal. There's a lot of energy right now, which is amazing. I mean, this thing that's going on is crazy. There's tears, there's smiles, there's everything. I mean,
so
music,
much joy.
it's like
Vibes are awesome.
I mean, everything just turned around, and I appreciate Joe Biden. He's been a great president. He's done such great stuff, and even though he doesn't get all the credit for it for some weird reason, but he's done a great job, and she's done a great job, and she's perfect for this time.
I think so. I think one thing that kind of gets. I think we might have talked about it at some point. I'm having a recollection, but for somebody like Joe Biden to actually make that choice, right? I mean, that's
unbelievable.
That's really what you want in a public servant. And I know that people put the president on kind of pedestal. They're a public servant at the end of the day.
Oh yeah,
and for him
especially
to
Joe Biden.
have that realization that like the best thing I can do for the country is to pass the torch.
And he will go down in history for that.
Yeah, and I think his legacy is cemented for, and
forever.
Regardless of how this turns out. But
Yeah.
we know, we're going to work, as hard as we can to get the outcome that we all deserve.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we don't have much time. That's good and bad sometimes. I don't know.
76 days, I believe, is the count right now. So
yeah, they're counting down.
Yeah.
We all have to get out there, and we've got to do everything we possibly can. We were doing postcards all night, my daughters and I.
Nice.
And we're almost finished with our stack.
There's more over there if you want to do more.
Okay, we'll take that. It's okay. That's a little thing we can do. We can, I think, talk to everybody that you know.
Yeah.
Your relatives, your friends, your enemies, I don't care. But tell them that, make a plan, make sure everyone has a ride to the polls, everyone's taken care of, they've got a plan.
Make sure they're registered, all that.
Registered, that's step one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, anything that you can do. Volunteer if you can, I mean, even though we're in California, There's still things we can do. We can, phone bank. We can do all of that. It's just so urgent, And the exciting thing about this, of course, she's a woman. Hello.
Great.
Right. Me too. I am too. And
wait a minute.
And I'm a president.
Yeah.
Right. But this is going to be an incredible election, and I'm confident. I am really, really confident, but not too confident. So get out there and vote. No, you know what I'm saying.
I think you're hitting on sort of marrying the enthusiasm, marrying the moment.
Yeah.
With just understand there's still work to do.
Yeah, there
right?
is.
Let's not we can all live in this moment, and we can enjoy this, and we should be enjoying
God,
this.
doesn't it feel
fun.
good?
Yes.
I mean, we've been feeling pretty crappy for 8 years. I mean, with him looming, even it's past 4.
I think, Evan, we kind of hit on it, but I think just to put a really fine point on it, the difference right now, and especially in the work that I'm doing as political coordinator, is, obviously we're going to support Joe Biden.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Regardless, given the alternative, but also, he's got we just talked about it. It's an amazing track record.
Yep.
Very pro-labor, but the conversation was more about we need to vote against something. The threat of Donald Trump.
Yeah,
it makes the job easier in that conversation to say let's vote for something like Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Right.
Fresh.
This is
it's
change.
Fresh.
It's change. It's fresh. It's new. It's something to vote for. Not to say we were going to vote for Joe Biden,
but I think you're engaging
messaging.
Different groups of people that maybe were engaged with Joe. More people.
Yeah.
More like people that may be apathetic. Yeah, I like Joe Biden. I forgot to vote
it's
or
the
whatever.
Unengaged voter.
And now it's like, let's get out there and really do this.
Absolutely. And that you want to capitalize on that enthusiasm, especially given the short timetable, and move, and do the work.
Yeah.
And I think that's been the call this whole week in the DNC.
Yeah.
It's like,
look at it. This is like an amazing event. This is like, if they could charge like Taylor Swift money for this, it's like been an amazing concert. The joy, the excitement.
Yeah.
It's so different. And, the Democrats are not really good at campaigning and messaging sometimes. And it's completely changed right now.
Well,
it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Honestly.
We do, as Democrats, we get a little hand-wringy quite often.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what's going to happen?
Right.
And I think, just citing Michelle Obama's speech, because I rewatched it a couple of times, but saying, like, look, we can't trip over, I'm paraphrasing horribly, but it's like you can't trip over yourself thinking about, should we do this? It's, we're going to do this.
Yeah,
and she is our candidate, not, what happens if she, no, she's our candidate.
No, don't be afraid.
And let's go boldly, joyfully, and volunteer and find,
be loud.
Exactly.
Be loud.
I love what you said about, engaging with your family, your friends. It doesn't have to be confrontational. It's even just saying, hey, have you registered to vote?
Yeah. Let's go together.
Yeah.
When I voted for Hillary Clinton, I thought we were going to have our first woman president.
Same.
I brought my daughters to the polls.
Same.
With me because they wanted to be there to see me cast that vote because we were going to have our first female president. Now they get to vote. So, which is very exciting, and it's going to happen this time, and you can feel it. Also just in her pick of Tim Walz.
Oh.
Come on.
Come on, Coach.
I was like, who is that guy? I don't know who he is. Now the whole world loves him. This guy is like everyone's dad. Everyone's.
My joke recently, trying to get folks, promoting this and things like this. I'm like, hey, this is gonna be really fun. We're gonna have a good time tonight and all this. But I'm like, what do I? I'm a 4-year-old dad with big Tim Walz energy. What can I say? So this is my thing.
Yeah.
I need the T-shirt, big Tim Walz energy.
Right. Oh my God.
But no, it's just been, and again, he brings a different, just that again, being a union member, but just that grounded authenticity.
Real person.
Yeah, like, when I started this, I was a public school teacher in a red district that just wanted to do the right thing and serve.
Right.
And here he is as vice president. I mean, it's the quintessential American message.
Unbelievable. Right? I mean, we haven't had that in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, we so much about just how. I mean, obviously, we're both geeking out. This is really exciting.
Yeah.
So, gotta go shifting back to like our members, right? And folks who are gonna watch this, and like I know Evan had some ideas, beyond kind of what we just talked about, like talking to folks. What else would you, or I guess what I'd say is like, what else would you suggest to like get involved or volunteer? I guess I would say like, you reach out to me. I'm sure people will reach out to you, and like we'll find ways for you to get involved.
Oh yeah, you mean in the union?
Yeah.
Like
with this
absolutely.
whole thing in the political.
Oh yes, yes, yeah.
And it's a safe environment, I promise.
Yeah, it is. I know people. I feel like they are afraid, especially younger people. Like, I don't know enough. I don't want to. I mean, you know enough.
Yeah.
You know enough.
Yeah.
Just come.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. And we do actually have fun. I mean, look, we're eating hamburgers.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, unless you're a vegetarian, that might not be
got
fun.
Beyond Burgers here.
Oh, okay. So everyone's invited. But yeah, I mean, it's really rewarding to be involved in the union. When I joined years ago, I dove right in.
Mm-hmm.
I just said, I'm gonna get in there, and I have been involved in governance of the Guild for a long time. I took some time off when I had 2 kids, but I've been involved, and you can't. Here's the way I always think about it: don't complain if you don't want to help.
Yeah.
Which is, that's a little harsh, but you know what I'm saying. Like, I really think like speak up is what I mean.
Sure.
Even if you don't want to volunteer for something, speak up and tell us what's bothering you. Tell us what you need. There really are people here that do want to help. I know a lot more now.
Yeah.
Even just being in this position since June 1st, I know a lot more. One really, really exciting thing that happened was when we were in Calgary recently. We went to the GEB, the Executive Board meeting of the IA, and that was the first day that Joe Biden
made
endorsed.
his announcement, right? He made his announcement that he
to
was
endorse
dropping out.
and to endorse her.
Yeah.
And it was like, everybody's looking at their phone, and it was like, oh my God. And then President Loebs has, announced it. And at that very moment, he asked the executive board to make a motion for the IA to back her as a candidate. And it happened, and they backed her. They all voted. And the entire room of people, all of us in the audience,
Couple hundred. Reps,
stood up
folks there,
simultaneously and applauded for a really long time. And it was chills. I mean, I literally have chills right now talking about it, because it was a moment that I'm never going to forget. And I was just talking to Chuck about it a second ago, and it was pretty amazing. To be in that room with all of those people who are committed to their locals and the union as a whole, and unions as a whole. Reacting to that, knowing that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are so
just getting notes. Sorry.
incredibly incredibly pro-union, and I know Evan talked about that some, but I agree with him, like how important that is. Like, It's so important, and the fact to have Tim Walz, who is middle class. He's a working person. That's how he grew up. That's his family and his tiny town and all that stuff he talked about with his sweet son. Come on, that kid went viral, but it was amazing. It was amazing. You can tell who he is by his son.
And same with Kamala. I mean, I would tell folks. People said, "Well, what's been your favorite moment in the DNC so far?" I said, "Look, I think the night the Obamas and obviously they're gonna kill. They're. I mean, come on. I mean, that's
Michelle
is fantastic. But for me, it really does. My boy Doug, second gentleman Doug. We all know that guy who married up and appreciates it and loves his wife. And just to see
Doug.
that, and it's like. I consider myself a part of that club. I know I married up, and it's. But to me, like that's what hit me to be and
if you follow him on Instagram, he posts the sweetest things. He took a selfie of himself, right? And she was on the big screen behind him because she was elsewhere at that big rally. And he was like so happy. It's just the cutest thing.
And they genuinely love each other and their family and their blended family. I think it's just
amazing.
It's so representational of what the country actually looks like.
And what we need. We need this attitude. We need the world to be happy again. I mean, come on.
We've been through a lot. I mean, we've been through,
and we need to work together.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that's what they're exuding. I also think Joe Biden did, but, it's a different generation. It's a different energy, and
it's a hard. I think just going on a little tangent. It's the Joe Biden situation of it all. I think it's just a hard road to go down when it's a rerun. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's same race, same individuals, same people, and it's hard to get people excited about a rerun, and it's like...
and also he's
he's
old, and
we
he's,
can't deny that,
slower, and the energy wasn't there even though the message was there, the energy is nothing like this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like... I don't think we've ever seen it.
No,
like
but
this.
I think this is so unique, and we're living in this moment of... It's all the speed of which this has come together, and how the party has coalesced, how people have become engaged, how I'm so, like you said, I'm fired up. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a hesitation. Like, okay, he's endorsing her. Are people gonna like her? I hope people like her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't know what the whole,
but then she stepped into it.
She did, and she did her job. This is who I am. This is, I mean, she just went right at it, and she's brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. And she's genuine.
Yeah.
She's genuine.
I've been in the labor side of things in California. Kamala's always been a full advocate for us, being in her orbit at different events and different things. She's...
So have you met Doug?
I have not met Doug. I
thought you were going to introduce me to him.
I wish I had. I've actually met Kamala, and she's fantastic. But
maybe one
where's
day.
Doug?
Maybe one day.
Madam President, where's Doug?
Exactly. I mean, think about it. The first second gentleman, and he's going to be the first gentleman, and the first Jewish. Anything.
I couldn't be more thrilled for.
I mean,
for
it's just
what's going
amazing.
on right now.
Yeah.
Well, I know I'm going to do another plug. I know you donate to the PAC. And,
I do.
And
yes.
how
Here.
important it is.
I was going to hold that up. Maybe
thank
it'll
you.
work on I don't know. Yeah.
I'm getting the
go
wrap it
ahead.
up signal over
okay,
here.
but here,
Yeah.
do this. It's really, really important. It's very important. Yay, America. Yay, Union.
And everything we've talked about, that's what the PAC supports. It supports these candidates. It supports this movement, and it supports everything we're able to do in politics and in Washington. And it's really
easy
your
to do.
voice.
And it's easy
so
to do.
Easy to do.
$10. $10 a month.
That's all, and
you'll help a lot.
Yeah, and it's not just. And this is my other plug. Ricky can yell at me later. But I think you turned me on to this a couple years ago, actually. I don't know if I've even told you this, but it's like you were asking me one day, how do I get involved in swing states? As a political coordinator. And, my answer is like, I didn't have a great answer at the moment. And so I reached out to the political coordinator of the IA, and I said, I'm getting this approach, and we're a national organization. Are there, and he said, the best thing you can do as an IA member to really get involved in swing state sphere and a state district is give to the PAC. Because you're giving money to candidates in swing states that really need it, that are going to support us.
Yes.
And that's the goal, right? And so really, it's easy, but it does make a huge difference, especially those down ballot races that really need the money. Yeah. Senate, the House, we need, if we want to make any progress.
Yeah. We need it, guys.
So
Get
donate
out there.
to the PAC today.
Donate. You'll be helping a lot.
Well, thank you, Dina. I really appreciate it.
It was fun. Thank you. My first podcast.
So like and follow us on our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, X/Twitter, LinkedIn, Carrier Pigeon, I think, is another one.
That's a good one.
And where you're watching this right now on our YouTube channel, all of those channels for, follow, like, subscribe. And thank you, everybody. We may be doing more. I don't know if we get some more folks who want to participate.
Vote.
And vote.
Vote.
Vote. Thanks, everybody. Thanks.